things are getting pretty crazy out there. So, at the moment, it's in the beginning of October 2021, and the mandates are getting harsher. There's more restrictions, there's more discrimination if you are choosing not to get the jab. And it seems pretty dire. I know that a lot of people are feeling depressed and afraid and so on. So the channel topic today is how to use current times to accelerate your awakening. How to use current times to accelerate your awakening. All right. Greetings and thank you for the question. How to use current times to accelerate your awakening. Let us begin with a discussion of something which we have discussed many times before, but it is so pertinent and so fundamental to your journey through third density that it serves you to be reminded of this dynamic between the light and the dark. The one originally existed conceptually, and it knew itself conceptually, but it yearned to know itself experientially. And so it exploded itself into an infinite number of individuations and created a context where it could experience itself, where there could be contrast and differentiation, which is only possible when there is more than one. Part of this experience is the experience of the energy of the one. In fact, it is the discovery of the energy of the one. This is the point of the spear of divine purpose, to have an experience of the energy of the one. This is the one's purpose. It is your purpose, because you are an individuation of the one. You are the one pretending to be you so it can have unique experience to feel its divine purpose. So, if there is going to be an experience of the energy of the one, which is the light, then there must be something which is not that, to provide the contrast, the differentiation. So there can be an experience, there can be an experiential appreciation of the light, because there is something also within the context which is not that. Hence, the necessity for the non-light, for the shadow of the light, for the darkness. So, in the most fundamental way to describe this relationship, the darkness exists so that you may discover the light. This is particularly pertinent for the Earth human, because the Earth human and all apex sentient beings in the solar system have been born in a state of spiritual dichotomy, where there is the capacity to self-identify with the light and self-identify with the darkness. I love those people. I hate those people. These two conditions coinciding is a very unique presentation of beings in all of creation. So here especially, the darkness serves a very important role, because your journey through third density, where humanity is now before ascending to the fourth density, will culminate in your realization that you are in fact the light, and you will become a being no longer of spiritual duality, but instead of spiritual unity. And this spiritual unity will be incorporated with your realization that you are, in fact, an aspect of a larger group being, which is the humanity being. So for this realization to occur, for you to have the epiphany that you are the unity, that you are not spiritually dichotomous, that you are in fact the light, then you must be driven to the light. You must be made to polarize to the light, to discover the light, to be attracted to the light, so that this discovery and ascendance to the new state within fourth density as the new human being can occur. And this can only occur in the presence of darkness. The repulsion between the two poles of the light, of the dark, will bifurcate humanity increasingly until a large portion of humanity will be so polarized to the light that they are energetically compatible. They vibrate at a high enough frequency which places them above the threshold for ascension. And so when the ascension occurs, which requires compatibility of a high frequency, then those that have polarized sufficiently to the light will, in a metaphysical sense, the physics of it, vibrate above the threshold and therefore be compatible with the ascension event and be harvested into the fourth density paradigm as the new humanity, the humanity being, the unity, the group being, which all of you shall become. Simultaneously, during this bifurcation event, which is occurring now, as there is this increasing repulsion between the light and the dark, there are some that are choosing the path of darkness. They are choosing to reject the light and instead to be rewarded through the power of darkness, to become the kings and queens of the illusion rather than to transcend the illusion. And as they move towards the poles, those that are choosing the darkness, choosing the path, philosophical path of service to self, can see, are witnessing that at the same time there is a polarization to the polarity of light. And as large proportions of humanity polarize to this light pole, then they also are awakened from the dream which has been constructed, the false paradigm, the false narrative matrix constructed by the Cabal of Darkness. And as they awaken and they see through the lies and they understand that they have been contained, imprisoned within this false reality which is constructed through the cultural pillars, they begin to see what the darkness, those who are allied with the darkness, those who have chosen to use the darkness for their power, have been doing. And as this phenomenon increases, those who are focused on the darkness, who are allied to the darkness, so they can be powerful, are becoming fearful, are becoming very concerned that soon the gig will be up, because the false reality they have managed to create, which steers the bulk of humanity in a direction which is antithetical to their future and the future of their progeny, but unwitting that this is so because the false narrative matrix created by those focused on the darkness, the Cabal of Darkness, has been so well and geniusly constructed that the bulk of humanity is being marched to the cliff edge, yet believing they are being marched into paradise. So this waking up of those who are polarizing to the light is forcing those polarized to the darkness, the Cabal of Darkness on planet Earth, to become more extreme in their efforts to maintain the integrity of this false paradigm, this false reality they have created. And their increased efforts, their increased desperation, their increased expressions of tyranny are in fact what is powering the final stages of the bulk of humanity's polarization to the light, so that it may be vibrating above the threshold for the ascension event, and therefore be harvested into fourth density as the new human species, the humanity being. So, with this in mind, that this is the dynamic at play, this is not an aberration, this is not something erroneous in creation, that there is the presence of this unified malevolence pitting itself against humanity. This is not an error. This is in fact a necessary mechanism for beings that are born into a state of spiritual dichotomy to find the light, because there has to be an experience of that which you are not, so that you can reject it. I tried that, it's not me, therefore I am this. So, I am not the darkness. I explored the darkness. I experimented with the darkness, and of course this is over many, many lifetimes. There has been this experimentation with the ways to be in the earth-human paradigm. And increasingly discovering that you have an incoherency with being of the darkness, being mean, being unkind, being dishonest, being maliciously violent. all of these and many more ways that can be, as an earth human, yet of the darkness, they feel discordant with who you are discovering that you are. I realize that I am not the type of person that would do these things which are harmful to another. Then I reject that. That is not part of me. So what am I? I am discovering that I am the type of person that does good things for others, that shares my abundance and love and empathy, has concern for others. And this discovery is possible because of the service that darkness has given you. So, what is happening now in the earth human field is, on the outside, appearing to be crazy, to be insane. Certainly, it is unprecedented to be occurring on such a global proportion. And it could be said there is good reason to be afraid, to be worried, anxious, depressed, despondent, feeling like it's all over, it's time to give up. But this is identifying with the dark energy of the spectrum. This is continuing to forget that you are in fact the light and nothing but the light. You are an individuation of the one. You literally are the one playing in the illusion to create this context where there are other things which are not it, so that it can experience itself. You literally are forged from the same stuff as the one, and the one is the light, love and its derivatives. Therefore, your constituency is that and nothing else. You are love and its derivatives and nothing else. So, if what is occurring on planet Earth now makes you feel worried, fearful, despondent, depressed, then you are misusing this dynamic. You are continuing to believe that you are that which you are not. You are not the darkness. You are not these qualities contained within fear and its derivatives. Because on the light end of the spectrum, love and its derivatives, on the darkness end of the spiritual spectrum, where the two dichotomous poles exist, there is fear and its derivatives. You are of the light, and therefore, when you are fully experiencing with clarity the purity of who you are, you only embody an emotional state which is contained within love and its derivatives. So, the ascension is drawing close, and preceding the ascension, there is going to be a series of awakenings in the human field. And these are all interlinked and overlapped, and one will contribute to the other until eventually humanity reaches a state where it is fully awake in the three main ways this will occur and be primed to ascend. So, rather than being reactionary in a way which has been habitual, that is, to be afraid and concerned and depressed about the growing, looming presence, apparently, of the darkness, instead realize the metaphysical dynamics of what is occurring. Understand that the darkness exists not because it is an evil infection which has somehow gone wrong in the Creator's manifestation, the Creator's context where you are existing, but instead is there deliberately to guide you to the light so that you may discover the light and fulfill your ultimate destiny, which is to further realize that you are in fact the One, your divine purpose, to experience the light, to realize that you are the ultimate being. The darkness exists for this reason. So use it that way. And using it that way means you never identify with it. You never contain an emotional state which is derived from the darkness end of the spectrum. Instead, when you are faced with darkness, there are those who are trying to deprive you of your bodily autonomy, who are forcing you to mask yourself so you cannot breathe the air, forcing you to be excluded from the greater society because you are unwilling to subject yourself to the introduction of chemicals into your body against your will. This is your opportunity to use this growing darkness to push you to the light. So, instead of being afraid and worried and depressed, go to the light and be characteristic of the light. Be love, be compassion, be empathy, be gratitude, be happiness, joy, bliss. Be of those qualities, regardless of what is occurring from the side of darkness, the Cabal of Darkness, this machine, this unified malevolence, which wishes to squash the light. Characteristic of polarizing to the light is courage, is a increase in capacity to stand your ground and say, no more. I am a sovereign being. By birthright, I am endowed with individual liberty to thrive, to travel, to breathe the air, to determine what goes into my body, to be free to spend time in gatherings with those who are important to me. So use the darkness, the foreboding, the impending, looming of the shadow to drive yourself into a state of greater virtue, polarizing to the light, becoming more demonstrative of those qualities, of true virtue, honesty, integrity, honor, dignity, love, compassion, empathy, generosity, happiness, joy. Spend more time in those emotional states, with those incorporated into your character. Because you are awakening to the realization that you are not the darkness. You are the light and only the light. So it serves no purpose other than confusion to be identified with any emotional state which is from the dark end of the spectrum. Fear and its derivatives. Use this as the mechanism of your awakening. And here is why it is important to you to do so. If the darkness, the Cabal of Darkness, those that are controlling the cultural pillars and are unified to squash the bulk of humanity into a slave class over which they will reign perpetually as the kings and queens, the gods and goddesses of the human realm. And they will integrate themselves with technology, change their genetics to become gods in the physical paradigm. And similarly, you will be integrated with technology which limits you. You will be changed genetically in a way which inhibits your latent capacities, which are engineered into the human biotechnology. So, if humanity does not polarize to the light and make this recognition that it is the light and not the darkness, purge the darkness, no longer entertain any emotional states from the dark end of the spectrum. If humanity fails to do this, then the Cabal of Darkness will consume the planet in such a comprehensive way that the planet will resemble a prison, a perpetual subjugation of not only you, but of all those that follow you, including your bloodlines, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, will be born into the world immediately as a slave class, as a resource to be harvested, utilized, exploited in any way that they see fit. Using them as labor, using them as sexual objects, using them as a supplier of organs, of blood. There would literally be a condemning your future progeny to become a product which can be exploited in any way that the Cabal sees fit. And further, some will say that my life will end in perhaps a few decades, and so for me it is not so relevant that I participate in this dynamic between the light and the darkness, because it is not my battle. Why would I jeopardize the final decades of my life by taking a stand and finding myself incarcerated in prison, deprived of the wealth that I have built for the majority of my life? I do not want to be part of this final confrontation on planet Earth between the light and the dark. It is not my battle. However, it is your battle, because you cannot escape what will become the future destiny of the Earth if the darkness is allowed to prevail, as it did on planet Saturn, and as it came very close to doing on planet Mars. Because you are destined to have many more reincarnations as an Earth human. So, you will inevitably inherit the decisions that you make today. If you choose to have no concern about what is occurring now, and you decide to continue to comply and acquiesce to the system, because that's the easy path, and to leave the battle, the final confrontation, for those who come after you, well, you will come after you. You will be among the progeny that shall be born in the future. You will come here again and again and again and again until the journey for the Earth human has been completed. So, you cannot escape this paradigm. There is no way out. And if it was chosen to not participate, to continue to comply, continue to acquiesce, so that the system doesn't pick on you, the system doesn't isolate you for an intense focus of the ways that it can punish you, make your life difficult, then when you are reborn, reincarnated in a future Earth human life, the potential to shatter this paradigm and escape this imprisoned future, which is the vision of the unified malevolence, the Cabal of Darkness, will be greatly less than it is now. Now is the opportunity to create a paradigm shift on planet Earth, which is in the direction of the polarity of light. The Cabal of Darkness are working overtime to create their own paradigm shift towards their vision, towards the polarity of darkness. If you wait to be reborn, to then make your stand, you will be born into a prison cell. You will be born with shackles and manacles restraining you from your first moments. Meaning, of course, in a metaphoric sense. Your ability, and with your fellow humans, to create the change which is reflective of a vision polarized to the light, will be so diminished, it will be as if there is none. Because the Cabal of Darkness have been planning for a very long time how to subjugate humanity so comprehensively that when their ultimate vision is realized, there will be no escape. And any threat coming from the bulk of humanity to their power, authority, wealth, will be non-existent. This is their perfect outcome, and it is what they are using the brilliant minds of the human field to manifest. Now is the time for humanity to find the light, to awaken to its true qualities, and elevate its vibration so that it may be above the threshold for ascension into a fourth density state, awakening as the unity, the group being, the humanity being. The ambience, the energetic ambience for this to occur is greater now than at any other time in humanity's history. The richness of potential for humanity to have its ultimate epiphanic realization of third density is closer now than it has ever been. And when the ascension occurs, part of your realization will be that you are in fact an individuation of a larger being, the group being the humanity being. Therefore, each individual human is very, very, very important in its contribution to this group, which you are destined to become. Meaning that the choices that you make are equally as important as the choices made by any other human on this planet at this time. Because it is about energy. It is not about wealth. It is not about status. It's not about physical appearance. It is strictly about your energetic contribution to the greater whole. And in this way, your capacity to contribute, to be there, to be part of this potential destiny of humanity to find the light is equal to every other aspect of the human field. You are as important, you are as worthy, you are as powerful. In this true sense of energies than all others. You are important to the final outcome. So, act with recognition of this importance. Polarize to the light. Become a being of greater virtue. Begin treating others with the qualities of a virtuous being. This is not postured virtue or fake virtue or virtue which is only on display when there is a camera for the opportunity of social media elevation. But this is virtue which has no requirement for an audience. It is virtue which arises from a deep place of love and recognition of the light that is in you is the same light that is in all others. And therefore, you treat all others with the love and derivative emotional field and character traits at all times. This is polarizing to the light. This is contributing to humanity's awakening. This is your addition to the energetic field of light for all of humanity, which elevates humanity, which elevates you, the individual, further and further and further towards this threshold until the threshold is breached and the ascension can occur, and you will be harvested with those that have managed to elevate their vibration also above this threshold into the fourth density. And in the fourth density, you will be a being of unity, not of spiritual duality. So, your perpetual, every moment state will be love and its derivatives. You will be a being of perpetual bliss. Every moment of your life will be a joy. All those around you will treat you with love, respect, and empathy as if they are a dear member of your family. Because of course, this is the truth. And they will have realized it, and you will see about you, everywhere you look, beings that you have a deep love, empathy, respect, compassion for. Because you are also experiencing this same sense of unity that they show you. Because all of you will have awakened to realize that you are the one being, sharing the one love. This is a magnificent destiny. This is worth making the conscious decision to be a being of greater virtue, to reject the darkness, to no longer entertain any emotional states from the dark end of the spectrum. Fear and its derivatives. No more. That time has done. You have awakened beyond that prior understanding of the humanity being, this prior confusion, misunderstanding, misconceptualization, this erroneous belief that I am fearful, I am angry, I am hateful, I am depressed. This is misunderstanding. This is erroneous belief. These are untruths. Because you cannot be those things. You can believe that you are through misidentification with the mind, and the mind does not understand. But you cannot actually be those things in the true fundamental definition of who you are, because in that definition you are a being of the light and nothing but the light, and it can never be anything but the light. So live that now. Be that now. Treat all others with those energies and characteristics. And this way of being is the humanity being discovering itself, realizing itself. It is the humanity being through the proxy, which is you, bringing to itself all its other aspects, combining into a unity, using the glue of love and its derivatives, until those that have polarized to the light become increasingly unified in their objectives, in their mutual love, respect, integrity, dignity, coming together as a single force, a single flame, spanning all nations of the world, reaching a shimmering brilliance which is so forceful, so powerful, that the forces of darkness, the Cabal of Darkness, perishes, crumbles, disintegrates, becomes no more, because It is so antithetical to the light. It is so incompatible with the energies of true virtue that it cannot coexist in the same space. And when the forces of light combine to become many, 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 many times in magnification, in amplification of the powers of darkness, then it will literally cease to be. It will crumble, dismantle, disintegrate, because it cannot coexist. The incoherency, incongruency, energetically, of being inside this energy field of light which spans the entire planet will literally break it apart, and it shall be no more, and humanity shall ascend to the new paradigm, and the humanity being will become fully awake. And all of you will look at each other in recognition that you are in fact the same being, the humanity being. So let us finish this way. What is occurring now in the manifestations and machinations of the Cabal of Darkness, increasingly becoming more tyrannical, more desperate, is a gift. It is a service provided to you so that you may find the light, polarize to the light. And there are some within the humanity field that have not chosen the darkness. They have the potential to go to the light, and yet they are so asleep that the darkness needs to reach an intensity which is so extreme before they awaken and go, oh, I get it. I am not the darkness. There is a unified malevolence pitting itself against humanity. I am going to the light. And this is why the darkness continues to escalate, continues to become more extreme in its intensity. Because there are some who awoke a long time ago, recognizing the darkness for what it is. And there are some who will awaken today. And there are some who will not awaken until many months from now. And so, for their level of energetic awakening to occur, there must continue to be this incremental increasing in the intensity of the darkness. The darkness is gathering humanity into this one unified flame. This is its service. And those who are wielding the darkness, those who are the titans of the Cabal of Darkness, at the apex, orchestrating, controlling it, they are beings incarnated from the light, just as you are. And before their incarnation into this earth cycle, they were existing as beings completely aware of their constituency as the light. Fully love and its derivatives, just as you were. And they made the choice to be incarnated into a life paradigm which would take them down the path of darkness. Not because they are evil, not because they are rotten to the core and cannot be anything but malevolent, but instead because they love you so much. They wish for humanity to find the light so profoundly that in their service to the greater whole of which you are a part, they made the choice to be born into a physical experience where they would polarize to the darkness so intensely that it pushes you into the light, that it awakens you and the rest of humanity, so that humanity can feel its divine purpose and ascend to the next state, this incremental return back to the one as the pathway of divine purpose. And incorporated into this choice was also their sacrifice, not to be included in the impending ascension event. They will miss out. They will not be a part of it because they are choosing to be of the darkness and to vibrate of a frequency which is below this threshold for harvest into the ascended state in fourth density, fulfilling the blissful vision of humanity. This is what they have done for you. This is reflective of their profound love they have for you and all of humanity. What they do now in this lifetime, in the playground of illusion, is provide the most valuable service which can be provided to the human field at this time. To push you with extreme forcefulness into the light so that you may further discover who you are and fulfill your destiny. So fear not. Love, yes. Thank you, and we love you.